so obvious that, the entire NBA thought we were basketball. That was really an experience. Think about sporting events that you've been to. You don't remember the score. You don't remember the whole bunch of stuff. You remember why you read. It was my birthday, it was early, now my wife, or I went with my buddies, and we flew up on the person in front of us. My dad was with my uncle, those are the experiences you remember. And once you I convey to our people that what we were spending, that what happened in the arena on the court was just as important as what happened on the court, if not more so. Because if your mom or dad are bringing the 10-year-old, you have to keep them occupied because they're actually educated. Because, I would get to fight with the NBA. Aside from that, giving the guys to fight with the NBA, I was with NBA nothing but attorneys, right? Because they had no marketing skills whatsoever. And to their credit, they realized that was a problem. They're bringing in better and better marketing.
So part of the selling is you're selling the team, selling the sport, selling the people, the idea, all of it, like just the...
Well, yeah, the experience. So have you ever been to an NBA game?
Miami Heat.
Do you remember walking into the arena and you feel the energy, right? That's what makes it special.
Yeah, the energy is everything, especially playoff games.
Right, yeah, sure, right? And even a regular season game, right? Even against the worst team, that's where we get, because tickets tend to be a little bit cheaper on the resale market, that's where parents will bring their kids. And so you hear kids screaming the entire game. And parents are thrilled to death, right? They got to do something with their kids. The kids are thrilled to death because they got to see basketball, an NBA game, and scream at the top of their lungs. And, if it turns out to be a close game and that ball's in the air, and if it goes in, everybody's hugging and high-fiving people you've never seen before in your life. And if it misses, you're commiserating with people you've never seen. That's such a unique experience, like unique sports. And we never sold that, and that's exactly what we started.
I have to say, like, just going to that game turned me around on basketball because I'm more limited. So basketball was getting the main sport.
Yeah, it's like, oh wow, it's fun.
The energy was just right?
The energy in the stadium is completely different than the energy in the arena. You can, the stadium, particularly if it doesn't have roof, it's hard to bottle that energy. You feel it, and you see, like I'm from Pittsburgh, so there's the terrible towels, and people screaming different defense and everything at Steelers games, but in an arena, the energy level is just indescribable.
How much of it is not only the tickets in person, but also versus what you see on TV? So when you're owning a team, do you get any other cut for what's shown on TV?
Yeah, we get it. So there's a TV deal that's done with either a local TV broadcaster, and we get all of that, or another broadcaster like ABC, ESPN, TNT, whatever, and then we get 1/3 into that.
What role is TV playing, like turning a
Keep fans. When the team is doing really well, it's easy, right? There's more viewers, there's excited, and when you're not, there's still going to be hardcore fans and general fans and kids that like the most.
What about like the personality of the people in the stands? That can be clearly you're part of the legend of the team, because you're literally there to help out.
Yeah, the whole game, right? Yeah, it's funny. The way I am here is how I am. It's a bit of fun. Yeah, it's fun for me, right? I just, it's his platform. He gets to run it any way he pleases. He pays for that right. And so I have total respect for whatever choices he makes, even if I don't agree with them. But because it's his platform, people are less likely to disagree with him. Particularly somebody who's got a platform themselves. And so when we start talking about DEI and it's just de facto racist and this stuff that I just think is nonsense. I have no problem, sharing my opinion. And, if he disagrees, okay, he can disagree. I don't care, and it's fun to engage, but he doesn't really engage. He just comes back with smart comments, which is, his show.
Yeah, you're in your comments. Well, you do a bit of stock too, but
Yeah, it's a little bit.
but you're pretty, let's say, rigorous in your response. And there's some machining ideas. There's some snark. There's some fun, all that kind of stuff. And you do voice the opinion that represents a large number of people, and it's great. I mean, that's what's that's really beautiful. But just lingering on the topic, what to you is the good and the bad of DEI programs?
Really simple, right? D is diversity. That means you just expand your pool of potential applicants to people who you might not otherwise have access to. You know, to look where you didn't look before, to look where other people are looking for quality employees. That's simple. And the E in equity means when you hire somebody, you put them in a position to succeed. The I in inclusion is when you've hired somebody and it may not be typical, if you will, right? You show them some love and give them the support they need so they can do their job as best they can and feel comfortable and confident going to work. That's the
So that's a beautiful ideal. That's implemented poorly, perhaps, or in a way that doesn't reach that ideal. Do you see, maybe when it's quota-based, do you see that it can result in essentially racism towards Asian people and white people, for example?
there's a lot to unpack there, right? So first, you can't do quotas; they're illegal unless you're. And I'm not the lawyer on this subject, but unless you're trying to repair something that's happened in the past, like some discrimination that's happened in the past. So it's not quota based, and I think that's really just kind of a straw man that people put out there. Now, does that mean that there aren't DEI programs that are implemented poorly? Of course not. There are everything that's implemented poorly in one company to another, right? Sales, marketing, um, human resources. You can pick any element of business and find companies that implement it poorly. Um, but that's the beauty of capitalism in a free market, or mostly free market, where if you make these choices and they are the wrong choices, you're going to lose your best people. You're not going to be able to hire the best people. You're not going to execute on your business plans in the way that we discussed, regardless of the size of the company. And it also, I think, depends on where you're having the discussion. So when I'm in a different group of people off of X, the feedback's completely different, right? Um, but to your question of reverse racism, yes, it happens. Because people are people. There's no human being that is 100% objective, and it's also there's very, very, very few jobs that can be determined on a purely quantitative basis, right? How do you tell one janitor from the other? Who's the best, right? How do you tell one salesperson that you're hiring versus another you're hiring because they haven't sold your product yet? So you don't know. We talked earlier about firing people because you made mistakes, and yes, there's discrimination against any group, white, Asian, black, green, orange, whatever it may be. But I truly believe that there's far more discrimination against people of color than there are people who are white. And I think it's become a straw man that reverse discrimination because of DEI is prevalent or near ubiquitous.
Well, much of American history was defined by intense radical racism and sexism.
Mhm.
But in the recent years, there was a correction, and I think the nature of the criticism is that there's an overcorrection where DEI programs at universities and companies are often, when they're not doing their job well, are often hard to criticize. Because when you criticize them within the company or so on, you can, they have a very strong immune system where that you could, if you criticize a DEI program, it seems like it's very easy to be called racist, and if you're called racist or sexist, that's a sticky label.
So you're getting into the culture of organizations, right, and leadership within organizations, and accepting any type of criticism, put aside DEI. When I criticized the referees at the NBA, I got fined, right? That was their option. I knew what I was getting into, right? Not that they're completely analogous, but it's cause and effect.
if I'm in a major company and I'm publicly criticizing or even internally criticizing a sales plan or a product. Our product sucks, right? Where like there was a Google engineer who got fired for saying, Google had AGI, right? And nobody believed they did, and they knew that created problems. It wasn't DEI related, but it was, saying something publicly that was in the CEO's eyes, to the detriment of the company, right? So I think those are all analogous. If you're trying to accomplish something within an organization because you think there's a problem, and there's people speaking out saying, look, we're getting it wrong. I think I'm a victim of all this, and the company, within, leadership has got to make a decision. Do they agree or not agree? Are they right or are they wrong? Is it to the positive? Is it positive or negative to the company? And you decide. So, this conversation that conservatives are being silenced in organizations now, um, I just I haven't seen it. You know, I've talked to, and then the other side of your question, I think, unpacking it, is what's driving all this? Put aside universities for one. In corporate America, when I talk to people in corporate America about DEI, they always start talking about ideology, right? And like I've talked to Bill Ackman, who you've had on, right? And when I asked him, Bill, you run your own companies. Who's telling you what to do? They are. Who's they? Well, it's the universities, the people who have this ideology of DEI. I'm like, did they force you? Did they coerce you? Did you lose control of your company? No, it's not me. It happens to other people. And I talk to other people. Same thing. If I get, I try not to go one-on-one into Twitter conversations on this topic. So in the DMs, I'll talk to people who are really conservative, and I'll ask the same question. And like, who's forcing you to do this? Well, it's the ideology that's everywhere. You see it. Did you see the Harvard thing? In University of North Carolina. I'm like, I've never had anybody try to push me in this direction to do this. This was my business choice. I'm not trying to tell other people you have to do this. You make your own business choices. And so we're companies that made their business choices. And if somebody doesn't feel confident or comfortable with it, they may feel they're being discriminated against. There was something I just read in the Wall Street Journal where the Wall Street Journal had a company interviewed 2 million people, right? And the difficulty in firing, and how people, when they were fired, 40% of the people who were fired felt like it was wrong, that they were doing a great job. Yet, then it talked about the HR person going through the hassle of trying to explain to this person through performance reviews that they weren't doing a good job. Yet the people still thought they were doing a great job despite being told they're not doing a good job, right? So I see that as being analogous to all this, this huffing and puffing about reverse discriminations and conservatives not being able to speak up, because 40% of people who have been fired don't believe they should have been fired. There's there's a disconnect somewhere in how you think you're doing your job, and if you just feel like I can't speak up because of it, because you're white, and that doesn't comport well with DEI programs, a lot of things are going to happen, right? Either it's going to come up in your performance review. HR or your boss is going to have to address it in some way. It's going to get to HR at some level, and then decisions are going to have to be made. And you can't just fire somebody because they spoke up, right? Somebody's going to have to communicate with you. And so I think a lot of, I just I I just don't trust the supposed volume that people say it's happening at versus everything I've read and seen. And when I talk to people in positions of authority within organizations and ask them who's forcing them, to implement these ideologies, nobody says yes, that there is somebody. But on Twitter, it sounds great.
It is true for conservatives, but in general, you can sell books, you can get likes.
Yes.
When you talk about this ideology, and there's a degree to which is this woke ideology in the room with us right now, meaning like it's this boogie monster that we're all kind of.
Or is it a positive?
I guess another way to say that is they don't highlight a lot of the positive progress that's been made in the positive version of the word woke in terms of correcting some of the wrongs done in the past. So with that said, if you ask people in Russia, a lot of them will say there's no propaganda here, there's no censorship and all that kind of stuff. It's sometimes hard to see when you're in it that this kind of is happening. It does seem difficult to criticize DEI programs. Not horribly difficult, terrible. They're this monster that infiltrates everything. But it is difficult and it requires great leadership.
So where have you criticized it and been condemned? Academic or
Academic, yeah.
okay. Academic. Let's two different worlds.
Companies and academic,
Yeah, two different worlds.
But I also think it's not. I really want to point my finger at the failure of leadership, of basically firing mediocre people, like people that are not good at their job. The problem to me is DEI defense mechanism, like immune system, is so strong that the shitty people are fired. So the vision, the ideal of DEI is a beautiful ideal. It's just like,
Well, maybe it's because I'm an entrepreneur. When I see an ideal that you try to implement it and support it and get to that point. But universities and companies are night and day different, right? I can see an argument for the ideology in a university. I can see, you look at the amount of money spent on it, and so while the goal is right, the way they implement it in universities, the way they implement most things in universities is wrong, right? There's a reason why tuition has gone up, a multitude of, or a multiple of inflation. Um, they're not well-run organizations across the board. So I'm not going to argue with that at all. So when you see me argue with DEI, I haven't waded into DEI in universities at all. That's what's focused on companies. 100%, right? Because that's where I sit. But at the same time, like I read Christopher Rufro's book, where he talks about genealogy and ideology, but then he gets to the point, and I hope I'm remembering this right, where he says that the response to it is decentralized activism, if you will, if that's what he used, to try to counter that DEI. And that seems to me to be counter to the whole conservative movement right now, right? Other than school boards, right? Where it's centralized and, the Republican candidate is all about centralized power in him. And, to me, that's just a conflict in a lot of the underpinning of this, of the whole DEI conversation that a lot of which goes through Christopher right now.
let's continue on a theme of fun exchanges on the internet. So Elon tweeted, the fundamental axiomatic flaw of the woke mind virus is that the weaker party is always right, in parentheses, even if they want you to die. And you responded, the blank, but the beginning is, the fundamental axiomatic flaw of the anti-woke mind is that it allows groups to absorb the power inflicted to them by taking anecdotal examples and packaging them into conjured conspiratorial ideology that threatens the power structure they have been defending. So, well, there's a tension there. So, yes, but both can be abused, right? Both positions of power can be abused. There's power in DEI, and there's shitty people that create power, hold on to power, and sacrifice their ideals.
Okay, put aside universities. Okay,
Damn it. Yeah, I mean,
because I'm not going to argue that universities implement DEI well, right? And I'm not going to tell you that they need to be spending $20-some million a year on DEI positions. To me, that's insane. Do I look at the Harvard and North Carolina decision and say it was a great decision? No, because I think having a diverse student body helps make for kids who are better prepared for the real world. I'm not running a university, so it's not my choice. Maybe at some point in the future I will, but not now. In terms of the corporate side of it, who's telling anybody what to do?
well, maybe you can give me some help.
Sure, I'm here to help you.
There's an example in the AI world of a a system called Gemini.
Yeah, I mean,
1.5.
everybody was black or whatever, people of color.
George Washington was
Right.
black, Nazis were black.
So why is it when that came out, it was a big uproar, but when somebody, who was it? One of the people who were trying to fuck with me, I forget which one, there's so many. Yeah, but, he pointed out to, Elon that Elon's AI was woke when it answered certain questions. And other people pointed out other things to Elon about Grok, whatever, however it's pronounced, that was leaning left or woke, right? And Elon's response was, "Oh, it'll change. It's a mistake. We're fixing it." When it happens to Gemini and Google, it's the end of the world. Look how woke they are, and it's a reflection of all their culture. Now Google comes out and says it's a mistake, and then they talk to the guy who's the product manager or whatever of AI of that product, and then they go back and look at his old tweets, right, and show that he's very left-leaning and very, DEI supportive, and that's the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, but Google's so much dependent on trust. That trust that Google search as objective as possible channel into the world of information. And so that brand is really important.
Yeah, see, you're giving them too much power. And maybe I'm not recognizing the power, right? So I'll tell you a personal experience. Up until a month ago, maybe, if you put in keto gummies, Shark Tank keto gummies, into Google, it would show up with scam ad after scam ad, and I would get emails up until a month ago from elderly people asking me why the gummies weren't working and why the companies were charging all this money on a month-by-month basis when they tried to cancel. And they said it was the number one deal on Shark Tank of all time, right? And all Shark,
Right.
it was a mistake.
Well, there's fraud, there's mistakes, but mistakes.
No, but why did Google fix it? Right? This just didn't happen once, over 1 week, over 2 weeks, right? And because it was hard to fix. And as it turns out, I was working with them to try to find a fix. And we would both look at the same page. And if you were inside of Google, within the google.com domain, it would show one page. If you were outside of Google, it would show another. And it took us looking at it at the same time for anybody to realize it. Meaning that there's a lot of technology problems that are hard to fix.
They're super complex, and we can talk about it forever with social media. Critical towards Google, towards other companies, when they're based in Silicon Valley, there could be an ideological drift into an ideological bubble out of which the technology is created, and they could be blind to the obvious bias that's
Yeah, but they've got
inherent to.
billions of customers who are not going to. So what you're saying is the free market stops with artificial intelligence, that people don't pay attention and respond, that Google doesn't listen to the responses, that people inside of Google will ignore their own best financial interest and even their own best personal interest because they know they're going to get doxxed now on by Elon and others. And so I just don't see that. And Elon's not allowed to make those same mistakes, but
No.
he's allowed to make those mistakes, but Google isn't.
I know that Elon is 100% should be criticized for the mistake he makes about various products. He's having a bit of fun like you are.
Yeah, so
But and I also believe it's remarkable. It's not always efficient. There's like a delay.
there's time. Yeah, there's time.
So which is why Elon is important. We're calling out, I think, overstating the criticism of Gemini, but Elon and others.
Gemini wasn't even a fully available public product yet.
It's still a bias that resonates with
That's the
people.
way neural networks work, though, right? That's why there'll be millions of models because weights and biases
Yes.
put it together. A neural network.
But well, no. So like the Black George Washington is a correction on top of the foundation model. So to keep it quote unquote they're safe. One of the big criticisms of all of the models, frankly, probably even Grok a little bit less so, is they're like trying to be really conservative in the sense of trying to be careful not to say crazy shit because we don't know how to think.
We do it. We know what happens, right? And they do it on the front end with prompts. and they try to do it on the back end with the neural networks that are underneath them, right? And it doesn't always work, and that's why there's going to be millions of models rather than just, you know, four foundational models or five that everybody uses.
Well, I guess the main criticism is you want to have some transparency of all the teams that are involved, and that this kind of, to the degree there's a left-leaning ideology within the companies, it doesn't affect the product.
But that's the beauty of
The market.
yeah, that's where the market corrects it, right? And not only from the outside, because everybody you know is going to test it. Like when YouTube first came out,
Yo,
first came out after Google.
How you doing?
and chilling. I wish these fucking guns would. I wish these guns would respawn.
Well, I lost mine.
Oh look, you got the bag hanging on yours. I was trying to figure out getting the bag to hang on the back of the backpack.
Yeah, it comes in handy, more storage. No luck finding a vehicle though.
Yeah, I haven't found one yet.
What weapons you got there? You got M16.
I don't have any guns.
You got two guns on your back.
Oh yeah, holy shit. Yeah, M16 and M4A1. I didn't even realize I had these. You want the M16?
I'll have the one with the ghillie on it.
Oh, that's my M4. That's the one I think I'm gonna keep. It's the only gun I can
I'll take the
keep.
M16A2.
Yeah, I wish I knew the guy on the server so I could see if he could reset it.
Well, I have no idea who the admin is. Yeah, because earlier I was in here. Someone shot me in the face.
I got shot in the back in here too. I believe it was either in this room or the one over there. I usually try to communicate with people first, but some people are a little trigger happy.
Hmm.
I need to find that attachment for the night vision goggles.
Pardon?
I need to find the attachment for the NVGs.
Use a helmet. I don't know one.
I don't see none of the right ones.
You need the
It's like the ballistic,
tactical
right?
helmet.
What is it called?
No, tactical.
Tactical. I believe there's straps too. They have.
Yeah, there is right here. You got it.
Okay. All right. Now
Yeah, I
I'll see
think
if I
if
can
you want
find
it
a
like mine,
battery
yeah.
by night.
A battery. And in the shops.
Are there any of those Aussie houses in this map? Have you ever seen one of
Yeah, I've
those?
got a battery for you. I've got a battery.
Thank you.
I dropped on the floor.
Yeah, I just had to put it in the right thing. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh yeah, nice and blind. Yeah, this room is sad. So where have you checked for vehicles? I've been all around this area. I think I saw a white um, laser truck up by the castle in the southeast. That was when I first got on this map. Someone else was also working on it, so it was competitive. Oh my god, I'm wearing wellies. I'm gonna try to go out and look for a car soon.
Pardon?
Thinking about going and searching for a car. Right now, I'm just making a little tent to put my shit in. When I get a car, I'll come pick it up. You want to join me?
No, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm thinking of coming off in a bit anyway.
Alright, well, if I see you
You got the
around,
iSurvive map.
this is the only map I have.
Do you use the iSurvive?
I believe it was called like 100 times loot. You start out with a kit and stuff too. It's pretty sweet. Pretty sure it's just called 100
Yeah.
times loot. That's the whole name.
Yeah. You could try going to the northeast airfield.
Okay, I'll check it out. Nice meeting you, man.
Yeah, that sounds like you too, mate. If you need any more stuff, go have a look in the shop, the clothing shop, yeah?
In which one?
Well, the one with all the clothing in.
Or yeah, I think all the tents need to be down in this area if it's gonna respawn. So when I'm done, I'm gonna
Well,
take my tent down.
since I've been on it, it's respawned, reset twice.
Oh, okay. So you know it does.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the gun rack full. Oh, plays that guy getting along with that rough. Like, comment, and subscribe while I find us a new one.